I saw it on TikTok.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe. I'm
but
not
it's
on
so
there, so I
cool.
can't vouch for it, but it is really neat what he's able to do.
People who pick up languages like that are so impressive. A
Yes.
good friend of mine is Bulgarian. She speaks Bulgarian, I believe Russian. Those are fairly similar though. English, French, and Spanish. It's just so wild to me. I really do not understand how she did it, but she picks up languages so easily, and to the extent that like she was with a guy for quite some time who spoke almost exclusively Spanish, so she was able to get by, and that's like her fifth language or something.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
It was only really a problem when she had a daughter, because the kid was growing up around three different languages, because here the daycares and stuff are predominantly French.
Mm-hmm.
So there was English and Spanish and Bulgarian at home, and then French at school. And this kid was getting confused about what words meant
Wow.
what.
My wife used to work with somebody who spoke like 4 or 5 different languages. And when she started having children, they spoke all the different languages to them. And as the kids came up, they understood them all. And it was unique because you could see them switching between the languages mid-sentence as they were talking. And it all made sense. But for me, like I speak one, obviously, and barely competently at that, you know, so to understand that somebody has that capacity to do multiple within a conversation is pretty impressive.
There's definitely a thing in some of the bilingual cities. So the city I live in is more bilingual than a lot of the rest of the province. But there's a couple of other cities kind of peppered around the country that are also French English bilingual. And there's this concept of franglais, which is like French English, like mushed together.
Mm-hmm.
And Montreal, where I live, is specifically terrible for that, where people will like pepper in all kinds of English words when they're speaking French. And it's just, that's just how you speak French here. And
yeah,
it's very bizarre, but I think it makes people tend towards some like very some like brain acrobatics a little bit kind of thing, because you really have to be on your toes.
Yeah. All right, well, it is just after 2:00 Eastern, so we'll go ahead and get going. I know we're good on your side on Facebook, Taylor. Did you see that? Okay, cool. So if you are on Facebook, maybe you're creeping, just watching, we would love to have you live with us, so that we can help you help get your clients the most out of their workouts. So that's what we're going to talk about today. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. But before I do, you know, only one person in the last week has noticed something funny about my background. And I'm surprised that you haven't seen anything yet. But so do you see all these little like pieces of bread that are hanging up? That's actual bread, and it's been hanging there for like 2 weeks now. So as you know, like this is our homeschool classroom. And so the kids are learning about like bacteria and mold and everything. So each of these, let's see, the first one is the control piece of bread. And then each of them have like something else that they rubbed it on. So the second one was my son's sock. The third one was the floor by the front door. The fourth one was my wife's phone. And then the last one all the way down here at the end was the toilet seat. So we'll see over time. And then the kids have like their bets on which one is going to mold and have the most amount of bacteria on it. So we'll see.
Which one do they think is going to be the worst?
So my son said the floor by the front door, and my daughter said the potty.
Great. That's interesting. I know I've heard a discussion of how dirty phones are. So I imagine that could potentially be quite a horrifying experiment.
Yeah, I'm anxious to see that one. My wife didn't have her vote on there, but I would probably put phone or toilet seat as like my top. So we'll see. I'll keep you guys posted on each new office hours. We'll see where we're at with the bacteria.
Well, who knows? Next week, maybe we'll be able to see it.
That'll be spooky. All right, let me share my screen and we'll get rocking. Taylor, you see my presentation. Okay. All right. So what we're going to talk about today is just how to help your clients get the most out of their workouts. Why this, I think, is something important for us to cover. And it's pretty straightforward. I think it kind of speaks for itself, but it's worth mentioning that competence builds confidence. And this actually works on two different sides of this same coin. One, from the coach. So when you know what you are talking about, you have an air of confidence that then allows you to express what it is that you want to express even better. So it's like this self-fulfilling positive feedback loop. The second side to that coin is specifically for your clients. So what I mean from the client side of things, when I say competence builds confidence, is that when you demonstrate your ability to help your clients get what they want, their confidence goes up. And it goes up in two specific ways. It goes up in you as a coach, because it's like, oh man, this guy got me what I want. So he must know, or she must know, what he or she is talking about. And they then have more confidence in you. And then the other part that is really cool is it builds confidence in themselves that they did demonstrate the ability to get what it is they wanted. All right. So they got a little bit of a victory. And we say this all the time in the Two Brain coaching world, that success breeds motivation, not the other way around. Okay. So when we say confidence, what that is actually referring to is trust. Okay. So why does it matter that you help your clients get them what they want out of their workouts? Well, because if you do that, they trust you, because they're coming to you for something that they think the workout is the means to getting to that end. And if you deliver that, all right, they trust you. And then what does that actually do? It builds retention in, because it's like, well, Josh got me ABC. Maybe he can stick around for a little while and get me DEF, right? So you've demonstrated your ability to deliver something to them that they wanted. They want to stick around even further. The other thing is they're going to talk about the success that they've had. And we would refer to this internally as referrals. Okay. So the Cliffs Notes version of my presentation today is this. There's 2 points to it. If you are just watching on Facebook and you're like, yeah, what is this guy yammering on about? I don't got all this time to sit around and listen to him for an hour. That's fine. What you need to get really good at doing is being curious. All right. And curiosity, in this case, comes in the form of asking a lot of questions. And then as you get better and better and better at just asking questions, over time, you want to ask better questions. Okay. So first step is ask lots. Second step is ask better questions. So let's get into this and kind of break it down. First thing that you need to do when it comes to helping your clients get the most out of their workouts is you actually need to understand what they want out of their workout. So contrary to what we may believe as health and fitness enthusiasts that just go and love working out for the sake of working out, your clients that are paying you money are not doing that. Working out is a means to an end, and that end is what we describe as your intention, or you might call it the client's goal or their why. But that's the first thing that you need to know and understand. And there's a couple of different places that you can get this information from. The first and best place to get it is upon intake. So if you do a consultation, or if you do a no sweat intro, whatever you call that initial conversation that you have when somebody signs up with you, hopefully you've done a great job and taken really, really, really good and thorough notes. That intention, that goal, that why should pop up on the intake form. It should be circled, highlighted, bells and whistles, stars, all that kind of stuff, because at the end of the day, that's the beacon that you are walking side by side with your client to help them get to. Okay. Now, let's say that, you've had a client with you for a year, 2, 3, 5 years, 10 years, and maybe you know that over time those goals have been achieved or they've changed or they've evolved over time. So it's not terribly relevant for you to go back all the way to that first conversation, to the intake form to figure it out. Or maybe you never even got it there. Well, the next best place to get this information is your recent goal setting session, or whatever you call them. So at my gym, for instance, we do monthly consultations with our clients. You might call them goal setting. You might call them athlete check-ins. You might call them success sessions. Whatever it is where you are sitting down off the workout floor and having a one-on-one conversation just to kind of check in with your client to see how things are going. That's another area where you can pull some relevant recent information on why they are working out with you. All right. And then the last place, if either A, you don't do consultations or check-ins or anything, or B, it's been a while, the last resort is when they arrive to the gym. So this morning at your 9 a.m. class, you were all set to coach. You got there 30 minutes early. Tina shows up 25 minutes early before class to kind of warm up and get stretched out and stuff like that. You can have a conversation and then broach the subject of, hey, you know, let me ask you why you are working out with us. And just start there. That's like the easiest question that you can ask them. All right. Let me tell you something, though, that the closer that you can get to the most recent one-on-one meeting that you've had with your client, the more anchored your conversation is going to be. All right. Meaning if you just wait and say, I don't need to look back at, the consultation or the last goal setting session to check in with them. I'll just wait until they show up before class and I'll get some information from them there. That's great, but it's not the best solution, because the reason that they give you is just going to be whatever is top of mind. It's not going to be a very deep-seated reason. If you can go back to the most recent one-on-one private conversation, that conversation now, or the reason, that intention is going to be much more anchored. All right. The other thing that this does is they don't fall prey to recency bias. Recency bias meaning right before they pulled into the gym, they were looking on Instagram, they were looking at YouTube, and they saw what the latest, Wadapalooza workout was, and they figure that they want to try that out. Or they saw what the last training session was for a CrossFit Games athlete, and they're thinking, man, that looks cool, I should do that. Or they saw that their friend at another gym just got, this new skill that they don't have yet. And so now that becomes the focus of their intention or their attention. And when you ask that question when they walk in the door, hey, what's the reason that you're working out? Oh, it's because I got to do this thing, or I have to get this new skill. All right. When you can have a deeply anchored conversation with somebody, it keeps their eye on the prize. And the prize is the one that matters most to them, not the one that's a fleeting moment, not the one that just popped up onto their social media feed that they saw their friend or somebody that they admire just do. Okay. Here's another great question. So we talked about just a general question that you can ask when you say, hey, what is it that you come and do workouts with us for? That's a great basic question. But a little bit higher level question is to ask them, Tina, after the workout, I would love to hear you say, that was just what I needed. It was the perfect workout for me. How can I get you to say that after the workout? And then just be quiet and listen to see what their answer is. All right. That's going to provide you with great insight in terms of what's their intention. All right. If you know what their recent goal setting session was, and then what they said in the moment does not match up, what I want you to do is kind of hold that in the back of your head, because we're going to address that in just a little bit. So the first step to helping your clients get the most out of their workouts is you need to understand why they are working out with you, because the intention and what you are going to say to somebody who is there to lose weight for a wedding in 6 weeks is different than the person who just wants to play with their grandkids whenever they get home for the rest of their life. Those are two different conversations. So you have to understand that first. The second thing that you need to do, and this is just good basic principles as a coach, is you need to understand the stimulus of the workouts that you are providing and designing for your clients. I've heard other folks call this the dose response. So it boils down to this understanding that one workout that destroys somebody might have very little metabolic impact on another. So Taylor, I know that you have a rowing background. If I said today your workout is going to be 1K repeats, what does that do to your heart rate? And how are you feeling about the prospect of doing like 5 by 1K repeats?
I mean, I'm always excited when there's rowing, so that's something.
Yeah.
If it's 1K, that is not an obscenely long amount of time to spend on the rowing machine. So I am sure my heart rate would be pretty high because I would be hauling butt the whole time. But maybe not as much as I would, definitely not as much as I would if it was like a very small sprint. So like something that I could reasonably sustain for 3 to 4 minutes.
Right. And then what about like time trials? Like what was a time trial distance for you whenever you raced?
It depended on which club, but I saw 2K come up a lot.
Yeah. And that's what we see too, as being like the popular race. And so the interesting thing about this is if you were to tell somebody like yourself or like me, I've had a decent amount of time on a rower, probably nowhere compared to what you or a competitive rower has had. But if you've been, rowing for a decent amount enough of time, the 2K is like the test. And anytime there is a time trial or a test or something like that, I mean, there is this physiological response that you get leading up to it, right? But if you put somebody that's brand new on the rower and say, hey, I'm going to have you row 2,000 meters, for us, the feeling that we know we're going to have is probably not going to match what they are going to experience on the rower. Okay. Now it depends on a whole host of things. It depends on their ability, their history, how fit this person is. But if you take just a Gen Pop client off the street and come in and put them on for 2,000 meters, they might just go nice and easy and not really have a whole big, physiological response. If you get somebody in there that is an athlete and has the ability to be strong enough to produce enough amount of power, it could really turn into a sufferfest. And this is part of what goes into just basic principles as a coach is you need to, over time. Now, of course, if you're brand new, your competence in this is going to be fairly narrow, and that's fine. But over time, that breadth increases as your depth does. But the goal is to be able to look at workouts and understand person to person what is going to happen if this person does this workout. All right. So the other things that I talk to fitness enthusiasts or even CrossFitters about is, if you are familiar with doing Fran, what that does to you psychologically just by me saying that word versus somebody fresh off the street who thinks that you're talking about some other female that is in class with you. That is not the case, right? But the reality is, for all the thoughts and feelings that we have around this one workout that has 2 movements in it, that is not going to be the same feeling for every person. Same thing goes for 1 rep max lifts, like a deadlift. All right. If you are somebody who cannot produce enough power or go deep into your central nervous system, it's not going to feel very strenuous to do a 1 rep max. And Taylor, you described this earlier, but I'm going to kind of take it and now turn it to like the assault bike is like, if I put somebody that is big and powerful and strong on the assault bike and say, give me 20 seconds of all out effort, and we're going to repeat that 4 or 5 times. If they are big and strong and powerful, they might need to rest 10, 15, or 20x the amount of working time to be able to produce that same amount of power again. But if you put somebody that doesn't really have a lot of history of working out on that bike, they're not very strong, they're going to go for 20 seconds, probably be breathing deep, but in, 30, 45, 60 seconds, they're going to be able to get back on and do the same thing again. All right. So it's super important after you take step 1 and understand what your clients want out of their workouts, why they're there. Okay, now you need to understand like what is the stimulus of the workouts that people are getting from us. And so this is determined by understanding 3 factors. One is that goal, the why, the intention. The second is what is the movement or the piece of equipment, or a little bit more globally, you can think of this as like the modality that this person is using. And then the third variable is that person. All right. And this is specifically talking about their history and their current ability. So when you mash all these things together, that is what is going to determine the stimulus of the workout. All right. So step 1 is understand the person. Step 2 is understand the workout. And step 3 is looking back is, does the workout that is written for that day allow for number 1 to occur? And what I mean by number 1 is going back to the client's goal, right? What do they want out of this workout? Why are they there? Okay. Then you look at the workout and say, all right, does this workout allow my client to move forward towards their goal? And this is something that I think applies much more so to group classes than it does to one-on-one private training sessions. The big difference is because when you're writing programming for the group, you're writing it for everybody. When you're writing one-on-one programming, you are literally writing the workout for that person. And so this shouldn't even be a discrepancy. So if we look at it through the lens of my group programming and we say, you know what, for Tina showing up on this day based upon what her goal is and what I understand about this desired stimulus of this workout, those things are not in alignment. If you identify that, that's awesome. I want you to change the workout, right? You need to change the workout such that the stimulus that this person is going to get moves them closer to the goal that they ultimately want when they are working out. Now, if those things are in alignment, great. That's the workout that they're doing. Okay. But in either case, and I think this is something that we learned humongously over the past year and a half, is in either case, you have to explain the why. You explain the why of the workout. All right. Now, and we're not going to get into this. There's a couple of great free resources on the Two Brain Coaching YouTube channel. It's a whole video about explaining the why. I would go and review that. But essentially what you're doing is understanding what's the main avatar client that comes to your gym. And now you are briefing the workout to them, explaining the why through that language of that avatar. So if you have a client that you know is there to lose weight, hey, this is going to be a great workout if you're somebody that is looking to lose weight because XYZ, and you explain why that workout is going to get them closer to their goal. Okay. Then you're going to tell them, here is how to make sure that this workout operates in this way. It gets you to your goal. So if you're doing a strength-based workout and you tell them, in order to build strength, you need to move moderate loads, and this is what it feels like. And then you notice that they have picked something either A, way too heavy that they can't move consistently, or B, way too light, so they are not actually challenged at all. You can coach them as the session is going on and say, hey, remember, we talked about this. I think your weight should be more like that. So you were explaining exactly how they can make sure that they go through that workout in a way that moves them closer to their goal based on the explanation of the why that you gave them. Does that make sense? That good, Taylor? That kind of makes sense what I was explaining? Okay. Anything on Facebook? Any questions? Okay. All right, so we'll keep on rolling. So first, remember, is you got to understand the client. Second, you got to understand the workout. Third is there alignment between the written workout and what their intention is. The fourth thing you've got to do is be honest. And remember at the very beginning when I was explaining kind of like the why and the Cliff's notes of the presentation and understanding the client, I said, look, if you have a really deeply rooted, anchored reason why they are doing something, and then they show up to class that day and they say, you know what, I saw my friend, they just got this new skill. That's what I want to get out of the workout today. This is where you have the opportunity to be honest. And what I call this is you're basically like slapping them in the head to bring their focus back to what matters most to them. Now, it's not to say that the periphery, the skill that they just saw their friend get doesn't matter, but it's not what matters most. And ultimately, that's your job as the coach, is to make sure that you help them keep their eyes on the prize. And trust me, I understand that people's goals change and evolve over time. But if you notice, we've all got these clients at our gym that every time they come in, seems like they're a different person with a different set of goals. That's because you haven't taken the time to fully ask the deep, meaningful questions that allow their intention to be super, super well anchored. So if there's a misalignment between their ambition, what they're saying, and then their actions, what they're doing, you've got to let them know. And so I honestly didn't even think about the toast bar example until I just read what I had written earlier. But let's say that your client wants to improve on his unbroken toast bar. So you come into the workout today and it's a 20-minute workout, and every round of the workout, it's written as 12 toes to bar. Okay. But you know that is well beyond the capability of that client. So again, you understand their intention, you understand the stimulus of the workout, the volume that is going to occur in this session. And so you suggest that reps come down. So instead of 12, you suggest, hey, every round, I want you to do 3 unbroken, because you ultimately care about their ability to progress unbroken. That's their deep-rooted goal. So the idea here is you don't want them to resort to just doing singles late in the workout, even if they're going to get a better score overall. All right. It was probably a client that we've all had. And I may or may not be describing a client that was in my gym this week that did this exact thing, but I don't think they'll ever see that. So they won't know that I'm using them as an example, but it is good. But here's what we know is at a certain point, they are not going to like that for psychological reasons, because in their head, oh, I can't click the RX button because I'm not doing 12. Or because they think they're not going to get as good of a score, an overall score, if they are doing 3 unbroken and you're telling them to rest for 30 seconds before going again. You need to be honest, and you can do this by calling it out logically. Hey, remember last week when we sat down, you told me that this was your goal, that you've never done more than 2 toes to bar unbroken. Did I hear that correctly? And let them explain what their position is. And then you're going to say, okay, well, remember we said the plan was going to be going forward that anytime they come up in a workout, we are not going to resort to singles, because the only thing you're going to get really good at is just doing singles, right? That's right. Okay, perfect. So don't you think that it would be a great idea for you to only focus on doing small sets that you can progress over time? So you see where I'm going with this is you lay out your argument in a very logical manner, because they're reacting emotionally. Okay. And you're not going to win that battle, but you do have the opportunity, quote unquote, to win the battle, laying it out logically for them. All right. Help them see the side that you are coming from. It's a place of caring, it's a place of wanting the best for them. But ultimately, what you're doing is you're asking guiding questions that lead them to clarity. All right. If they say, hey, I really don't want to do it that way because I don't feel like then I'm doing the workout as it's written. I'm not going to be able to click RX. Okay, great. Why is that important to you that you click RX? And you let them talk about it. And then you say, okay, so do you still have the goal of doing unbroken toes to bar in bigger and bigger sets? Yeah. Okay, so you said that you thought that the way to do that was to lessen the total amount of reps that you're doing every round. Why do you believe that to be true? And you're letting them then explain what you already know to be true, right? You kind of pretty much know the answer. You're just asking questions to get them to clarify it in their mind. The best way that I've heard this described, movie by Christopher Nolan years ago called Inception. So basically, you are asking them these questions to then put the idea, plant the idea into their head so that when it comes out of their mouth, it's their idea, they own it, and they're going to be much more bought in. Okay. So, fourth step is be honest. After that, you have to show them opportunities for small wins. And this goes back to what I said earlier. You don't need to be motivated in order to get success. That's not how it works. You need to get some success first because that is what keeps you going down the road. Success breeds motivation. And again, this is where the power of questions come in. So back to our example of unbroken toes to bar. What if in this workout today, you do XYZ unbroken, and in total sum, you actually accumulate 60 repetitions of the toes to bar? How does that sound to you? Then another question could be, what would make you feel successful no matter the outcome of this workout? So now we're asking them to define their success definition, right? What does success look like to them? Is it the score of the workout or is it doing things unbroken? And again, this is where it's really important for you to help the client keep their eyes on the prize, because what you don't want to have happen is you let them say, you know what, it's the score of the workout that's most important, because after the workout is all said and done and that dopamine and endorphin hit has kind of fallen back down, there's going to be a sense of disappointment that ultimately they chose the cookie, the donut right then and there, instead of waiting down the road for a much bigger payoff. The other way that we can show them an opportunity for small wins is to identify, is there anything brand new that you are doing in this workout today beyond just doing repetitions unbroken? Perhaps this is the first time that you've done running combined with toes to bar combined with wall balls. Maybe you've done two of the three of those together, or maybe you've done them in a different order, but this is producing going back to the knowing the stimulus of the workout. This is your ability to demonstrate competence and say, hey, this is what I've discovered about combining running and then going right into toes to bar. Here's what you're going to feel in your posterior chain. Pay attention to that. And that can be a win, that we are now expressing this skill in a manner that we never have before. This is an opportunity to talk about how progressions work, how different forms of interference can affect things. For instance, if it's a workout that has toes to bar, kettlebell swings, and double unders, that's going to be very, very grip intensive. And you can use that to explain it to them in such a way that they see this as a win. Not only am I working on my toes to bar ability, but I'm also improving my overall grip strength and grip endurance. So you've got to find opportunities for small wins. but you can't do it until you understand why the client is there, how are these workouts going to affect them, and you're honest with them. Okay. The sixth thing is this actually comes after the workout is finished, is you're going to do a debrief and recap with them. So go back to some of the earlier questions that you asked. Go back to some of the opportunities for small wins. Okay. What you're trying to do is get them to express a win in their own words. All right. You don't want to be, I know as coaches, we feel the need to identify the win right out of the gate. And that is super, super important. But it's even more effective if we can ask the question that gets the client to identify the win that we saw them have. It's also an opportunity for perhaps them to identify a win that we never even considered. For instance, if your workout has 400 meters of running in every single round, and you have no idea that they've never run that distance without stopping before, and they identify that for you, that is a massive, massive win. So even though our questions can kind of guide them to identify the wins that we know they had, don't be so one-track minded that you don't offer space for them to identify their own wins. All right. Now, here's the important part. You have to record these wins somewhere. All right. You could write it down on a whiteboard. You can take out, I don't carry this with me, but it just happened to be sitting right in front of me, is like one of these little notepads. All right. Write it down. All right. Keep it somewhere. Doesn't matter where. You can write it down and put it into their client file. You can jot it down and then log it. If you use some sort of tracking software or client management software, put it in there so that next time client signs in and it's a different coach that day, they can say, hey, I was just reading back and I saw that yesterday you were able to run all the 400s unbroken. That's amazing. How do you feel today? Okay. It's really important because this is reinforcing that they can do the thing. And now we're just looking to build consistency. Then this last piece is, and part of the debrief and recap, is you want to share and celebrate. So when you get to the end of the week and your gym is participating in Bright Spots Friday, you can go and look at all of the wins that your clients had throughout the week. And you don't need to tag them unless, you think that they would benefit from being tagged, but you can just say, hey, you know what? These are all the wins that our clients had in the gym this week. And I would just like to list them so you can see the awesome things that people in the community are doing. And you list them on your gym's private members Facebook page. You can put it onto your public social media, Instagram, Facebook. You can do a YouTube video. It doesn't really matter, but you do just want to make sure that you share and celebrate what these wins are. Because again, I feel like I'm beating a dead horse, but it's success that breeds motivation. Okay. So I have two final thoughts, and I think they're so valuable that I actually created a different color background for these two slides. Yes, pretty impressive, right? And Brian's not even here to see this today. So here's number one. I mean, we talked, if I first go back to the Cliff's notes of the presentation today, it was ask lots of questions. All right. That's number one. Number two is ask better questions. So the first thought that I want to leave you guys with today is this: your value as a coach is determined by the quality of the questions that you ask. If the deepest that you ever get with somebody is, hey, how was your day? How's the weather? How are the kids? How's your job? If that's the deepest that you ever get, that's all they're going to see from the value that you are bringing to them with your conversation. So your value is determined by the quality of the questions that you ask. The second thing, and this ties right into this, is the questions that you ask, they do a couple of things. They demonstrate your knowledge. your experience, your confidence, and therefore your expertise. So if you want to be seen as an expert, learn to ask first a lot of questions, and then as you get better and better, ask better questions. It might take you, the better part of, let's say, an hour to get to the most important question that you ultimately wanted to ask somebody when you're brand new. As you get more and more experience, right? You get more knowledge and you become more confident in your ability to ask these deeper questions. Maybe it only takes you 5 minutes to ask the one that's really going to be the most impactful. All right. So don't feel bad. I hope I didn't make anybody feel bad by saying like, you're not worth a whole lot if all you're asking is, how was your day? How are the kids? How's work? I think those are great. All right. But make sure that a year from now, you're not asking that same person those same surface level questions. All right. We all want to be able to look back 6 months ago and say, I'm better than I was 6 months ago. And so the logical place to take this is 6 months from now, you want to look back and say that you have improved even more, right? Same thing looking a year from now. Well, a really, really powerful thing to do is take a look at the questions that you're asking and figure out how you can ask better and better and better ones of your clients, of yourself, of your gym, so on and so forth. So again, your value is determined by the quality of the questions that you ask. And these questions that you ask demonstrate your knowledge, your experience, confidence, and therefore your expertise. So when it comes to helping your clients get the most out of their workouts, you got to understand them. You got to understand how workouts are built, all right? The stimulus that workouts provide. You got to make sure that there's an alignment. And if there's not, be honest, right? Then give an opportunity for small wins, and then debrief and recap. Do that, and you are going to deliver a ton of value to your clients and help them get the most out of their workouts. When in doubt, ask them what their favorite music is to be played during a specific workout. Doesn't mean you have to give it to them, but you can just ask them. All right, Taylor, do you have any questions for me?
There's no questions. My only thing is that I am going to, after this is done, track down the why YouTube video that you mentioned.
Oh, yeah. I can find that and send it to you. That's super easy.
Yeah. Whichever way, but that was the only question, was just asking for a link for that.
Yep.
So
yeah. And for those of you guys that maybe watch this back later, or you're watching it on YouTube, if you subscribe to Two Brain Programming, I know they have a couple of different tiers of options, but one of the things that they provide is to help you as coaches explain the why behind each of the workouts that you are tasking your clients to do on that particular day. So they do a really, really good job of helping explain. And I think Brooks or Vincent will probably kill me if I get this wrong, but I believe there's like 3 different avatar briefs. One is for like fat loss, weight loss. Another one is for clients that are looking to build strength. And then a third avatar brief is for just like the general fitness person. That sounds right in my head, but if I'm wrong, somebody please call me out and tell me what the actual avatar briefs are. But if I'm right, I'm going to give myself a cookie later today. Yeah.
Cool. I think you're right. It sounds right to me.
Fingers crossed if I've been paying attention.
Great. Well, thank you so much.
Yes.
Super informative. I'm so sad that Brian could not see your amazing PowerPoint today, but
I know I switched the colors up and everything, but that's okay.
We'll just have to tell him to watch it back.
Yes. Go and watch it back. And then this is always worth repeating, and I know we've got some time left, but if there is anything, if you are coaches out there, any role that you play in your gym, really, but certainly coaches, if there is anything that you wish you knew, either A, just knew something, or B, wish you knew better, let me know, let Taylor know, post it in the comments, post it in the team training Facebook page, send us an email, josh@twobraincoaching.com. Taylor, what is yours?
Taylor at twobrainbusiness.com.
Okay. So you can send us an email. You can find us on Facebook and message us. There are a ton of ways to get in touch with us and let us know if there is something that you wish you knew, that you wish you knew better, that you wish you could communicate clearer to your clients. Please let us know. A great opportunity to find out maybe what the answer might be for you is by looking at frustrations that you have. So if you feel like, man, I feel like I'm always saying this to my clients, or I'm always teaching this thing over and over and they're just not getting it. Or if you're dealing with things like, I know Sean has talked about clients that show up late or people that give you trouble in class, any of those instances, pain points can certainly be, and nothing is too small. As you see, I can talk on my own for at least an hour straight. None of these are too small to not warrant us exploring the topic in a lot more depth. So if there's anything out there or anybody out there that has something that's on their mind, that's bugging them, let us know. Actually, something I was thinking about tackling next week was because I did see you post this question a couple weeks ago, is doing some myth busting, some health and fitness myth busting. So if you think that would be a good topic, then I could certainly do that. And if there are myths that you would like to have busted or challenge me on, then I would certainly love that. Do you think that'd be a good one, Taylor?
I think that sounds very interesting. And I remember it was a fun discussion when we briefly touched on it in one of your past office hours. So I'm sure it will elicit a lot of reactions.
Yeah, I like that. So now, of course, I need to figure out what are some like hot button issues that are going to get people to actually, interact and participate. Yeah.
I feel like if you scroll the fitness hashtag or Fitspo on Instagram for 5 minutes, you'll find all kinds.
I may lose the rest of the hair that I have if I do that. Yes. The first myth I think I will bust is that you need to warm up before you work out.
I remember you saying that one.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very interested to hear.
Yes. Okay, cool.
Awesome.
Is there anything else that I missed today? No?
Nope.
We're good? Okay, perfect.
All is good. Thank you so much.
All right. Well, guys, have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you next week.
Talk to you next week.
All right, bye.
Bye.